Meet the pumpkin toadlet. They're a genus of adorable, super tiny Brazilian frogs that are bad at jumping. Like, look at that, they're just doing their best. But why are they like this? How would a scientist even begin to figure that out? Q&A sessions with frogs tend to be one-sided. I know, I've had my fair share. The quest to understand animal behavior brings together researchers from the furthest corners of biology, combining knowledge about evolution, body structures, cells, hormones, and more. Their powers combined can lead to some amazing insights, not only about why animals do what we do, but also whether we were born knowing how to do that thing, or whether we learned it along the way, or whether it's somewhere in between. Hi, I'm Dr. Sammy, your friendly neighborhood entomologist, and this is Crash Course Biology. Let our powers combine. Earth, fire, wind, water. Theme music. An animal's behavior is what it does, its actions, which covers a lot, whether it's a panda rolling in horse poop to stay warm, ew, or goldfish hanging out on the side of the tank that the food comes in. Animals get up to some brilliant and bizarre stuff. And for a scientist, understanding the hows and whys can be a journey. Like, if you asked me, hey, Dr. Sammy, how does monarch butterfly migration work? I'd ask you to break it down into smaller questions. Like, do you want to know what systems help them navigate? Or what triggers them to start flying? Or why this behavior evolved? Every question in animal behavior has dozens of smaller questions stuffed inside. And when pursuing answers to those questions, a researcher is typically operating on one of two levels: the proximate level or the ultimate level. So in the case of our pumpkin toadlet, we might ask, what's happening within or around it to make it hop like that? Those are questions on the proximate level, which typically focuses on how behaviors happen. As in, how is this behavior triggered? And how does this action develop over an animal's life? Well, if we look around the toadlet, we might find that it's jumping wildly away when there's a threat nearby. But that's true of lots of frogs. So next, we might look within the toadlet. And there it is. There's a structure inside their ears filled with fluid that should slosh around to help the animal orient itself. Except the pumpkin toadlet is so small, the laws of physics prevent that fluid from moving fast enough. So when they launch, they have no idea how their body is oriented. Which, to be fair, is also how I, an adult man, feel on a trampoline. Anyway, upon further investigation, we learned that this behavior doesn't really change over the toadlet's lives. In the case of our toadlet friend, it can't be taught or untaught. It's just the way they are. But why? That nagging question brings us to the ultimate level, which, despite the name, isn't better than any other type of research and doesn't involve a frisbee. Instead, at this level, we're looking at why behaviors evolved and stuck around in the first place, the ultimate reason why they exist. Why does jumping horribly help pumpkin toadlets survive or reproduce? In this case, it's not their acrobatics that gives them an edge, but that being so small seems to be helpful for their survival in their environment. And the poor jumping, as we know, is a result of their size. So basically, they get more benefit from being small than they lose by being chaotic. At the ultimate level, we might also consider the evolutionary history of this behavior. So we'd look through the frog's family tree to figure out when the switch flipped from wumbo to mini, and how their bodies changed along the way. And all of these questions about animal behavior tend to range widely throughout different areas of research done by different types of biologists. Even within the proximate and ultimate levels, there's a super wide variety of specialization needed. Think about it. Understanding evolution is going to require different knowledge and research than figuring out the anatomy of a frog's ear. By investigating all these specific details, every team can contribute one piece of the puzzle until suddenly we have a clear picture of how and why animals do what they do. And part of that picture is where, how, or whether they learned the behavior. How much of it is a conscious decision versus some automatic script? Does my goldfish have free will? Well, I can't really answer that one. But I can say, when it comes to animal decision making, there's a sliding scale, with programmed or innate behaviors on one end and learned behaviors on the other. Starting at one end of the spectrum, we have innate behaviors which animals don't have to learn. These are built into our DNA, like toadlets flailing or little baby humans grasping at fingers. And although the behaviors themselves might look involved, they don't usually require much thought. One example is a reflex. If your great aunt's obsession with incense bothers your nose, you're going to automatically sneeze. You never had to learn how. And you don't think about it, it just happens. Like how some apps come pre-installed on new phones. And then there are fixed action patterns, which are like more involved reflexes found in non-human animals. They're a set of movements that can happen all across an animal's body in response to some stimulus or cue. For example, if a praying mantis sees a tiny insect scurry past them, under the right conditions, they'll automatically strike at it, and they can't stop or change direction once they get going, even if the prey has already escaped. There are countless examples of things that animals do just because they're innate. These can also include broader patterns, like circadian rhythms that influence when animals sleep and wake up, and circannual clocks, which influence seasonal migration. These innate rhythms are why you probably feel sleepy around the same time each day, and why you may hear outrageously loud migrating geese at particular times of year. Most of these innate behaviors stick around in populations or species because they give individuals a survival or reproductive advantage, and so the behaviors continue in successive generations. And that means innate behaviors can be shaped by evolution too. If one built-in foraging strategy or parenting behavior makes an animal more likely to survive or make babies, that behavior will be selected for, just like physical traits such as fur pattern would be. But as someone who's spent your whole life in the animal kingdom, you've probably noticed that there are plenty of complex behaviors that aren't completely built in. Things we and other animals have to be taught and decide to do, like communication. Let's go to the thought bubble. Honeybees love to dance, but they don't use their smooth moves to rack up millions of views. Not intentionally, anyway. They dance to communicate. Bees that search for food, called foragers, perform what entomologists call a waggle dance to tell other bees about the food that they've found. Based on how long they waggle their abdomens and at what angle, the bees can convey the food's direction, distance, and quality. But some scientists in China wanted to figure out if these moves were taught to foragers by older bees, or if they knew how to dance innately. So the researchers took some young bees with no dance experience and separated them from their colonies. And they compared this group to some regular colonies with veteran foragers that could show the young bees the ropes. At first, the bees without role models were very bad at dancing. They couldn't accurately indicate where the food was, while the bees that watched the more experienced dancers were pretty spot on. After a while, the first set of bees did get better at saying which direction the food was in, but they never could get the waggle length down to indicate distance, so their dance moves could be improved on their own. But they get better faster and nail those distance signals with a good dance teacher. Thanks, Thought Bubble. While some communication can be innate, many mating dances come pre-installed. Often communication skills, whether they're visual, chemical, or based on touch or sound, are something a baby animal has to learn. To a biologist, learning is the process that makes links between experiences and behavior. For instance, when a baby goose bonds with the first animal it sees, that's a type of learning called imprinting. The goose has no idea it's a goose, so it assumes the first living thing that it sees must be the same species. Good insight, goose. There's also spatial learning, like when that goose gets older and learns where its nest is. The most complex kinds of learning are cognition and problem solving. Cognition involves analyzing information from the environment, including making decisions. And problem solving is, well, problem solving. You participate in these things all the time. Navigating to a new classroom, figuring out what to put on your sandwich when you're out of peanut butter, deciding if jeans are just smelly enough that you have to wash them. They're all included. And these aren't just human skills. Other primates, dolphins, octopuses, and more are capable of these kinds of learning. Like in a 2016 study, octopuses were taught to push L-shaped blocks through a square hole, basically playing one of those shape sorter games that human toddlers are into. This kind of learning is way on the other side of the spectrum from innate behaviors. These skills do indirectly depend on an animal's genetics, but mostly they have to be taught in our conscious actions. So learned behaviors are strongly shaped by an animal's experience, environment, and culture. So you've got innate behaviors on one end of the scale and learned behaviors on the other. But there are plenty of behaviors that are somewhere in between too, like a honeybee's waggle dance. Or for humans, being able to remember things is one of your innate abilities. But how good you are at memorizing can change with practice. It's a built-in ability plus some conscious decision making. So how much of an action is up to an individual animal? It depends on the species and the behavior, and both proximate and ultimate studies can help researchers figure out the details. By combining information from all the different realms of biology, from body structure to DNA to evolution, scientists have been able to sort out key details about how and why animals behave the way they do, and how much of that is under their conscious control. This work has answered fascinating questions, from why pumpkin toadlets can't stick a landing, to why pandas roll in poop, and why birds sing in the springtime. Each of these questions contains smaller, more detailed ones, like tiny mosaic tiles. And by combining thousands of them, researchers can put together a beautiful picture of what makes life on Earth so incredible. Next time, wait a minute. Looks like next time is episode 50. There isn't a lesson planned here. Looks like I'll have to wing it. And I guess you'll have to tune in next time to find out how we wrap things up. I'll see you then. Peace! This series was produced in collaboration with HHMI Biointeractive. If you're an educator, visit biointeractive.org/crash course for classroom resources and professional development related to the topics covered in this course. Thanks for watching this episode of Crash Course Biology, which was filmed at our studio in Indianapolis, Indiana, and was made with the help of all of these nice people. If you want to help keep Crash Course free for everyone forever, you can join our community on Patreon.